We're recording.
Okay. John K. Donovan Sr.
That's me.
John K. Donovan Sr., ladies and gentlemen, Ian Trottier for Discussions of Truth. We are on Citizen Media News. And this gentleman here, John, is a former FBI agent. John, you approached me with this binder. You said you'd written a book.
A book, yes.
And clearly you have the title, Why Does John Brennan Hate the Donalds So Much? But
that's right.
The caption down here is How to Front Run a Counterterrorism Investigation for Profit. Talk a little bit about what's in this book. What did you discover?
Yes, the bottom line is that John Brennan enabled 3 specific terrorist attacks to succeed so that the value of the stock that he owned in a company would go up in value. He hid his ownership of the stock in his executive branch personal financial disclosure form. He reported it in 2009 when he joined the Obama administration. He was told by the Office of Government Ethics, you need to get rid of this because this is a conflict of interest. This is the indispensable government contractor for following terrorists. If you own this stock, every decision, every comment you make, every finger on the side of your nose that you have is a violation of conflict of interest. So you have to get rid of it. And that is documented on his financial disclosure form, that he was going to roll it over into an IRA. He didn't. What he did was he changed the name of the IRA on his subsequent financial disclosure forms so it looked like he got rid of it, but in fact he still maintained it. And I proved with the Securities and Exchange Commission documents that second 401k he has is identical to the original 401k he was told, you need to get rid of this. So he held on to it all the way through his time as director of the Central Intelligence.
John, are you a whistleblower, or have you, in your retirement, aggregated and accumulated this information?
It's all in my retirement. Okay. I'm not allowed to publish this book and sell it because I have to get pre-publication review by the FBI because I have a contract with them.
I see. Like a non-disclosure, if you will.
Well, the thing is, you have to let them review your book before you would sell it.
And they would not approve of this, obviously.
They would never approve of this because I'm accusing the former director of the CIA of treason against the United States. Because he committed treason to drive up the stock value so he could become a multimillionaire.
And what's the name of that company?
The original name of the company was the Analysis Corporation, which he became the CEO of in 2005 after leaving the directorship of the National Counterterrorism Center. The National Counterterrorism Center, the foundational contractor of the Counterterrorism Center was the Analysis Corporation because they maintained the terrorist tracking database for the entire United States government. You can't be the National Counterterrorism Center and not rely on that database for all of your records of all the people you believe are terrorists that you're tracking. Okay? So he was given 1.5% ownership of the company. That's according to the SEC documents where his contract is disclosed. When he left the company, he had only obtained 25% of that 1.5% ownership.
Yeah.
And those shares of stock were put into the Analysis Corporation 401k plan. All right. The only thing in the Analysis Corporation 401k plan was stock in the Analysis Corporation. So when he reported that on his financial disclosure form, he was told by an Office of Government Ethics advisor, you need to get rid of that. And he told her, oh, I'm going to roll it over into an IRA. He never did roll it over into an IRA. So he caused her to make a false official statement on his financial disclosure form. And then every subsequent financial disclosure form for the next 8 years He didn't list the Analysis Corporation 401k. He listed Sotera 401k. Sotera Defense Solutions is the successor name of the Analysis Corporation once it had an initial public offering. Okay? So he was maintaining the same stock, and the SEC documents disclosed that the contents of the Sotera 401k are identical to the contents of the Analysis Corporation 401k. He's the one who put into the policies of the Analysis Corporation, and then as it went through all these different names, ending up as Sotera Defense, right? He is the one who put into effect that no matter what happens, we're not changing the contents of the 401ks. We're just changing their name. So that's how he ensured that his stock ownership would stay, because it was pre-IPO stock. If he had rolled it over into an IRA, he would have to first liquidate whatever was in his 401k, turn it into cash, and then the cash got moved into the IRA. Okay? So he couldn't do that if he was going to benefit. All right? Then he made a big deal about how, I forfeited all of my my unrealized stock options. Well, you didn't forfeit your realized stock options, so you still held on to this stock. And then when the company goes, he's in the company, and there's another great thing. In 2007, his company, the Analysis Corporation, is trying to get a CIA contract. Hawkeye is the name of the contract, and he doesn't get it. He goes to one of the other contractors, and so now he's angry, and he files a grievance saying, a contract dispute, right? Well, the CIA's Office of General Counsel basically says in their letter to the GAO about what happened, this guy lied to us. He submitted false statements to support his complaint. And we're supposed to be able to trust, these government contractors, and we can't trust this one. This government contractor, the Analysis Corporation, run by the former chief of staff of the CIA, is lying to us. So we're not going to give him the contract. And then GAO was like, that makes sense, all right? So that was 2007. That's also during the process, they're working towards the IPO, so they're filing their SEC documents. And then he leaves to join the Obama campaign, all right? But he never gets rid of his stock. He still owns the stock. And it goes through the IPO process, and he's now lying on these financial disclosure forms for the next 8 years. Well, not only that, but shortly after President Obama, at the end of the year, Obama's first year, there's an underwear bomber. Do you recall the underwear bomber guy?
I don't.
Okay, there was in
2009.
Yeah, his name is Umar Farouk Abdulmuttalib. All right, he was from Nigeria.
It's a little bright, and it's not picking it up.
All right, he's from Nigeria, and there was all sorts of intelligence saying this guy Umar Farouk is going to attack the United States.
Okay.
All right, and
it's Chapter 8.
Right.
It's not online, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. I could probably email you a copy for you to edit.
Sure. Sure.
And so anyway, this guy Umar Farouk Abdulmuttalib, he goes to Yemen to meet with Anwar al-Awlaki to tell him, hey, I want to conduct a martyr operation against the United States. And there's all sorts of signals intelligence about this guy Umar Farouk Abdulmuttalib. Well, how come it doesn't appear anywhere? Right? That's the question. So wait a minute. There's all this signals intelligence talking about this guy, that there's a Nigerian guy working at al-Awlaki, he wants to attack the United States, but it doesn't show up anywhere, right?
Okay, yeah.
So one of the things that Edward Snowden...
Before Obama gets in office.
No, this is the first
First year?
Christmas
Okay.
that Obama's in office. So the guy tries to blow up the plane with a bomb hidden in his underwear. It doesn't go off properly. It starts to catch on fire. The people on the plane tackle him, right? It lands in the United States. And so everyone's like, well, how did this guy get on the plane, right? Well, I have the testimony of American witnesses who were sitting at the ticket counter when a smart-dressed man speaking in a Midwestern American accent, right?
Yeah.
Tells the ticket agent, oh, he's from Sudan. We just need to get him on the plane. We do this all the time. And that smart-dressed man is carrying a black passport. Well, only State Department employees and people pretending to be State Department employees carry a black passport, all right? This is testimony of American witnesses.
In where? Where did they give that, or where were they when they witnessed this?
Oh, they were in the Netherlands,
Okay.
in, I believe, Amsterdam, all
So
right?
the flight was coming from Amsterdam.
Amsterdam to the United States. So apparently, a person from the U.S.
New
Embassy...
York or D.C., do you know the destination?
It was going to, I believe, Detroit, right? It's in the book. I believe it was Detroit. But anyway, and so this couple that observed it, these Americans, they're like, this is unbelievable. The United States government got this guy on the plane. So the public story that Obama was putting out was like, oh my gosh, the system to screen these people, it failed, and that. No, somebody circumvented ticketing, passport control, and physical security to get him on the plane. And that person was a smart-dressed man speaking with a Midwestern American accent and carrying a black passport. Well, so then what happens later is, there's all these investigations that go on afterwards, and a U.S. ambassador named Patrick Kennedy finally is brought in front of Congress, and he testifies under oath, okay, I was asked by the CIA not to pull this guy Abdulmutallab's visa because the CIA was trying to recruit him and they wanted him to come to the United States. So he basically confirmed, okay, this was a CIA operation to get this guy on the plane. All right, that comes out, a year or so later. But what happens immediately after the event? Lots of press. President Obama comes out and says, oh, we're going to have to do a review of the security procedures, all this kind of stuff. Oh, but you know what? My National Security Advisor for Counterterrorism, John Brennan, he used to work for the company that does the screening for all these people. So there would be a conflict of interest here. So I'm going to issue you an ethics waiver, and he does. And I have a copy of the ethics waiver in here, right? And the ethics waiver says, of central importance to all this ethics waiver stuff is the fact that you no longer have a financial interest in the Analysis Corporation. That's a false official statement. This is an official waiver. So Brennan has now caused the president to issue a false official statement about his ownership of the stock. And then for the next 8 years, Brennan lies on his financial disclosure form. Oh, I no longer have a TAC, the Analysis Corporation 401k. I have this Sotera 401k, right? So that's all documented, that he did do it, he had the ownership of it, right? And then we find out, oh, it was a CIA operation to get this bomber on the plane without being reviewed by security. So no dog sniffed him, nobody searched him, well, then whose fault is it he tried to down this airplane? Right. So that's Abdulmutallab. The way I found out about all this stuff was because this terrorist act in 2011, all right, with Anders Breivik in Norway. Anders Breivik published a manifesto like all the nuts do, right? And in his manifesto, right before he published it to more than 1,000 Facebook and social media pages, he merged with it his preparation diary. So he kept a day-to-day preparation diary of how he prepared for his attack. And it was in his manifesto. And I didn't want to read his manifesto because I was a open source intelligence analyst with commercial clients, right? No government clients. But commercial clients don't want to be attacked by terrorists either. So I'm like, okay, I gotta look at this. So I just do a Control F and put in the word preparation. And it scrolls all the way down, and there it is. There's his preparation diary. And as I read it, I realized there is no way the United States didn't know, US intelligence didn't know about this. And this is 2011. I had no access to classified information, no access to classified systems. I just looked at it and said, there's no way that this guy entered into the Google search window.
I was going to ask Google, yeah.
950 individual search terms related to building a car bomb, okay? Including all the different chemicals used, everything. Because he listed it in his diary. And I was like, there's no way we didn't know about this. And so I was like, well, how would I prove that we knew? And I was like, well, if I'm a politician, if I'm the president, and I knew, because of course he knew, I don't want to be in office. The bureaucrat doesn't want to be in office where he can be blamed. I'm like, gee, I wonder if there's any press releases that were given out by cabinet secretaries, right? Related to, I'm going to leave office. Sure enough, there they were. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, holy cow, these guys were coordinating their efforts to move to different cabinet secretary posts in relation to this guy's preparation diary. I was like, holy cow, this is... So I wrote it up, sent it into the FBI through their tip line.
You've been retired at that point.
I was retired, all right? So I didn't have any official contact. Officially, I was like, I'm just a regular citizen. Now, I knew when I did that, the repercussions were going to be pretty severe, right? You don't accuse the president and his cabinet of allowing a terrorist attack on a NATO allied country while that NATO allied country is actually fighting for the United States in Afghanistan, Norway, right? Breivik intentionally tried to decapitate the government of Norway. He put a car bomb at the prime minister's office, and then he drove 2 hours to this little island where there was a ruling political party youth conference going on. There were about 500 teenagers, right, who were members of the party, but they were, youth members. And he went out there and he murdered 69 of them with single gunshot wounds from a rifle. The first person he killed on the island was the brother of the crown princess of Norway, okay? And I was like, well, how would we allow this to happen, right? So I sent in my complaint. The next morning, my supervisor, a former CIA case officer, said to me, did you send in a report to the FBI yesterday? I said, yes I did. She said, you should have sent it to me first. Now I knew if I sent it to her, she would have buried it, right? Yeah. So I was like, I was like, oh, well, are you on the list for people who are going to handle a federal felony? She said, you're fired, right? And I was like, I do not want my family destroyed by the press coming to my house. I'm not. So I was like, okay, I'm fired. All right.
She was firing you from what?
From my open source intelligence analyst job at this company.
What's the name of that company?
That company was called Cyvalence. So that was in 2011. I was unable to find a job for 2 years. But then I was eventually able to find a job. But what happened was all US domiciled news media outlets ceased reporting on the Norway attack the day after I sent in my report. And I was like, wait a minute, who has the authority to do that? To shut down all US news?
Council on Foreign Relations.
No, the president actually.
Okay.
The president is the one who can tell ABC, CBS, NBC, Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin, the New York Times, the LA Times, Chicago, all of them. That's it. don't talk about this. And they stopped. Overseas news media outlets continued to report on it, right? Because the purpose of allowing this guy to go to this island and shoot all these children was to cause huge public outrage so that the United States Senate would ratify the UN Treaty on the Arms Trade, which is basically the UN's small arms treaty. It required every country that ratified the treaty to regulate private ownership of firearms in that country. The reason that's important is under our Constitution, right? There's 3 ways to change the Constitution. The way we've done typically, right? Someone announces it in the Senate and they do all that stuff and then it goes to the states, they ratify it. The second way is a convention of the states, which has never been done. And the third way to change the Constitution is international treaty. Because under our Constitution, international treaties are the supreme law of the land. So if we sign an international treaty that requires the regulation of private ownership of firearms, our Second Amendment goes right out the window. All right? That's the way our Constitution works. And that was the game that Obama was playing. He was going to use that outrage to get that done. Now, it didn't happen. The United States didn't ratify that treaty, right? Hopefully, it was because I sent in my report. But, so then I started looking, and I was like, who at the White House would have handled this for Obama? And I was like, well, of course it would be John Brennan. He's the National Security Advisor for Terrorism. So I started looking for open source information about John Brennan. And I noticed, what do you know, there's a White House visitor log, right? So I said, well, who visited John Brennan around the time of this terrorist attack? And lo and behold, there's some low-level National Counterterrorism Center intelligence analyst visiting with John Brennan, holding one-on-one, face-to-face meetings. Now, why would the advisor to the President of the United States need to hold one-on-one, face-to-face meetings with some lowly analyst? He's a lowly analyst. You just say, send me what I need, right? Unless the analyst has information you want that you don't want a recording or a paper trail of him giving you the information. So I was like, wow, I'll bet this is the guy who handled this Breivik information, right? So then I'm looking for stuff. I'm just a regular guy fishing on the internet. I can't, I don't have any email information, like you would get in a criminal investigation. But then Edward Snowden comes out and he releases all this information, right? One of the documents he puts out is a PowerPoint presentation on an NSA program called X-Keyscore.
X-Keyscore.
X-Keyscore. And the PowerPoint presentation is dated February 2008. Well, that's 2 years prior to this guy Breivik Googling for how to build a car bomb, right? So that means X-Keyscore was in effect when he was Googling for a car bomb. What else does it say in the PowerPoint? It says the NSA had 100% coverage of all internet activity in Norway. All right? So the NSA was recovering that data that Breivik was putting in there. So now I have confirmation, okay, they definitely knew. Well, then why didn't the NSA warn Norway? They're a NATO ally. Withholding information to prevent an attack on a NATO ally is a violation of the treaty, which is a violation of our Constitution, which is treason. So why would the NSA commit treason? And I was dwelling on this for a long time, and then I realized, wait a minute, I read something about how Brennan set up the National Counterterrorism Center. They published an interview of him, right? And in the interview, he talks about how the National Counterterrorism Center, the analysts there have immediate access to all 26 intelligence community databases. They have immediate access to all FBI data systems. They have immediate access to all FBI communication systems. They have immediate access to all CIA communication systems, right? And I'm going, so if they tumbled to the fact that this guy Breivik was planning something, and they go to the NSA and say, hey, NSA, we're very interested in this guy Anders Breivik. We're opening up a top secret code word compartment for anything related to Anders Breivik. You send everything you collect related to him to that code word compartment. Well, the protocols for code word compartments is nobody's allowed to know what's in the code word compartment unless they're read into the code word operation. And who decides you get read in to the code word operation?
President.
No, the guy who set up the code word compartment. So the analyst at the Counterterrorism Center who ordered the NSA to put all this stuff in the code word compartment, he's the one who gets to determine, he's the guy meeting with Brennan. That's what I believe. I don't have the proof that he did that, but the circumstantial evidence is that the National Counterterrorism Center was the national counterterrorism manager for the entire intelligence community. Well, if you're the manager of counterterrorism, you get to tell everybody else who's working on counterterrorism, right, what to do. So he had the authority to tell the NSA, put this in a code word compartment. Code word compartment protocols are such that once the NSA puts it in there, the NSA no longer has a need to know what's in the code word compartment. They're not even allowed to look in the code word compartment because now it's isolated. So then as things are automated systems pull it in, it's not going to an analyst at the NSA anymore to look at before it goes in the compartment. It goes straight in there. So I'm like, now we have confirmation that they would have been cut out of it as soon as someone said, yeah, we're interested in this guy, Anders Breivik, this is his IP address and his email.
So we go 3 more minutes, wrap it up, just because of what we've got here on capacity.
Okay. The same counterterrorism analyst continued to meet with Brennan in the build-up to the Boston Marathon bombing, right? I document in here all of the SIGINT markers, right, signals intelligence markers, that we were provided by the Russians, right? We were provided his email, we were provided his social media account, we were provided his address, his phone number. They gave it to us, right? But there's no signals intelligence on this guy anywhere? How come when the FBI did their Guardian assessment, and I have the Office of Inspector General report, which says, we duplicated what the FBI Guardian assessment agent did, and we found nothing in government databases related to Tamerlan Tsarnaev. Well, wait a minute. The Russians proved that there was SIGINT about it. Do we believe for a moment that the Russians' signals intelligence is better than the NSA's signals intelligence?
Yeah.
No way. So where did it go? It's in the code word compartment. And who knew about the code word compartment? Well, it could have been this counterterrorism analyst who just happens to meet with John Brennan, right? And after the Breivik attack in 2011, because the Boston Marathon's in 2013, Brennan starts having his administrative assistant hide the fact in the visitor log that Brennan's meeting with this guy. His administrative assistant starts saying that this intelligence analyst is meeting with her.
So this is going to be, John is going to send this to iantrottier.com, IANTROTTIER. He's going to send me the edited version, what he is feeling is permitted to send me. You can find that document at that website. We're going to run down with 10 seconds.
I can send
John.
it to you for you to edit. I can't publish it without FBI permission. I can't publish it without FBI permission.
Okay.
Okay?
John, captivating, amazing. Thank you for joining Discussion of Truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can use it or.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. I would have kept you another hour. It's just we have.
Citizen Media.